Hey everyone, hey bosses, it's Courtney Koenig here at Rise to Thrive, and I am igniting your human design to become a powerful, profitable, purposeful boss of your business, of your career, and of your life. And I'm really excited to bring on Jenn Miller. Now, Jenn and I met years ago. I think in the pandemic when it was really heightened. We actually live in the same town in Dallas. Of course, Dallas is like humongous. And she always impressed upon me this spirit of finding new and innovative ways of looking at our health, looking at wellness, looking at our emotional load in a way that I've never seen before. She's a student of this, and she's brought all these modalities to us today. And you guys know I love bringing on entrepreneurs that are sitting in their space. They're attracting amazing people to them. And this is a pattern that we can bring into our own lives as well. So I'm going to bring Jenn on and excited to have you here. Hey, Jenn.
Hey, Courtney, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being on. I really feel like the world is so harmonic. And even when we were living, like an hour away from each other, we didn't know each other, still have not met in person, but we're going to do that. We need
Yes.
to happen. But like just great friends because we have this similar passions, and just your energy is so beautiful. And I love to be around it. It's so giving.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's amazing how technology allows us to connect and find, other souls who do have those similar passions, who are on a similar journey, and thus we can help more people and connect with more people.
Yeah, yes, exactly. It's all about the connection and the helping, and you have a helping, service-minded heart. So we're sitting here in Dallas in our own offices, and it's a beautiful spring day outside. So let everybody that's on and on the replays, thanks for coming on. Drop in the comments where you're from and what kind of weather you're having. So if you're in the spring or if you're in the cold, I know that's still happening around places too. So I want to introduce you guys to Jenn. Jenn is an intuitive wellness coach. She has an immense amount of training in so many different genres because of her journey through wellness and health, her own. But she is certified in Psych-K. She is a heart math practitioner, a licensed massage therapist, a myofascial release therapist, a yoga teacher with over 200 hours in RYT, a myofascial release yoga therapist, and a Reiki master. Jenn, could you have any more like certifications and like things? I'm like, you have this long list of stuff.
Yes. Well, it really started with my own journey, which started when I had cancer when I was 18. And it launched me to want to understand the root cause, the real reason underneath why I got cancer. And I developed this almost unquenchable thirst to learn about the human being and how it was all interconnected. So the body, the mind, the spirit, emotions, right? Because anytime we experience trauma, we experience anything in life, it imprints on all parts of our being. So I really just dove in addition to those trainings, I'm constantly reading and learning and experimenting. I call myself a healing scientist.
I love that.
To really just understand how we can facilitate and accelerate healing and transformation.
And that's so vital because what I see in the entrepreneur space is that people are, whatever they have inside, the entrepreneur ride comes up, right? That those feelings come forward, and deep spaces or little like things that we haven't uncovered yet come forward in that journey. And we start to shed those things that are not serving us and start to become a new person. But sometimes there's so much resistance and struggle to that journey, or sometimes in past we're like, oh, I don't want to look at that, that doesn't feel good.
Oh yeah. And often they'll also be in our blind spots. So things that we just can't consciously see or bring awareness to.
Yes, right. They're under the surface. And that's what I love how you're marrying this tech process with wellness and then also like the action behind it. There's so many tech wellness scans and different things out there that it's like, oh, that's cool. That was a cool experience. But now what, or maybe it didn't quite grasp the full picture of what could be seen. And so tell me about like how you're integrating tech into this and what piece you're using.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was a really interesting part of my journey when technology started to show up, because we don't innately connect technology with healing and transformation work and energy work. But in fact, it's really incredibly helpful. So I use a technology called Nest Health. And what it does is it scans the energy system, the electromagnetic frequency of a person, and compares it to the optimal electromagnetic frequency. And through that and a matching algorithm, it identifies where your energy system is not operating like the optimal. So we get a lot of really amazing information from this. And what's really cool to see is this is a technology that has a really high price tag to use. So when you go through training, you'll actually see about half of the room are medical doctors. And to me, that gave me just hope in the world of medicine, because those doctors are realizing for the patients they can't figure out what's going on. They need a way to see the root cause of it. And in the development of disease, everything starts in energy first, disease or otherwise, and then over time it manifests and it grows. And so what Nest does is it allows us to get to really the root cause, to see what's actually, manifesting the disease or the discomfort or the things we're struggling with in life. It's really an amazing technology.
That's so cool. So does it goes through all the body system. I mean, like body systems and emotions and see where everything is trapped and held or
Yeah.
highlights what we need to work on. Is that right?
Absolutely. So it'll tell us even the basic information of, are you getting enough energy from the major sources like diet, hydration, movement, oxygen, the fields of the earth, right? Because if we don't have enough energy coming in, that's a problem. It then goes on to tell us where there's blockages. So we could have a blockage in a specific organ. We could have a blockage in a specific system within the body. Where it gets really cool is that it connects that with our emotions, different traumas that are still resonating in our field, right? Because everything is interconnected. So all of these things show up in different ways. And an example, and I'll show a scan, but is if your liver is showing up as a block, right? You're probably carrying around some anger or some resentment that you haven't released. And it also shows us how this is reflecting in the greater journey of our life. So if we are out of balance with different roles or archetypes that we play, or in our cycle of creation. So it's a really depth of information. And it gives us some practical tips as well. And then that's when I apply my skills, my knowledge, my training, my intuitive skills of how can I give you practical steps where you can change this, you can release the blockages, you can increase your energy, you can increase your health.
That's so cool. And it really is. It seems like so much more in depth than other tech that has been there. And I also like because again, you did a scan on me, but we did it all virtual. It was all like I just did it through my voice. It's super easy. It took me like 10 seconds literally to do it. And then from there, it came through this whole big package of like, what do I see through that voice? And I know how powerful the voice is. I use that in my Become program, how powerful the voice is as transmitting what's going on internally and transmitting what could come the next steps are. So that was really neat.
Yeah, and I have clients all over the world, and we use the Nest technology as part of our services together, because we do, when we speak, we give off our frequency, and it's no different than the frequency that comes off of our physical body. And it's amazing to see, because the first time someone does a scan, they're blown away by how accurate and in depth they're looking at the results, going, that's me. That's what I've been dealing with. That's what I've been feeling. That's what I haven't wanted to look at. And now I'm seeing it in front of me. So it's really amazing.
It's really beautiful that it can see and feel, because a lot of times, and when we did this together, I was like blown away, and I was crying in the session, like, you're like, because it saw me so readily. And again, this is nothing that I've told you about, no traumas that I've told you about, nothing, like, and it just saw me in all that I've been going through with the MS and the COVID, and then all these underlying traumas that I've had for the last couple of years that have been really weighing on me. It saw all of that. And to me, seeing that I felt heard, and I felt seen, and I felt like, okay. And I had Jenn with me there, and I was like, that is beautiful, because not only are you there for me to help guide me with, okay, now what are we going to do about it? There were some action steps to it. And that's, as a projector, I love action steps. I love seeing the greater picture of what it could be, instead of just being like, that was cool,
Yeah.
but the first thing is, I felt really seen, and I felt like my soul was heard through that.
It's not uncommon for tears to come out when we're going over a scan. And it really, some of it is that feeling like, oh, I'm heard, I'm seen, what I'm going through, it's real, I'm right, my feelings, I can trust myself. And it does facilitate that as well, because right, it's very non-concrete, our feelings, what we're experiencing. But when you see it in writing on a screen, there's a validation that you get for yourself. You learn to trust your own feelings, your intuition greater. And then it also empowers you. Having that type of information is so empowering. You now know concretely what's going on, and thus next steps. What can you do to address it? And, since I incorporated Nest into my practice a few years ago, with my clients, myself as well, I have seen the rate of transformation and healing accelerate tremendously. Because really, if you don't have this information, you're kind of guessing. As I say, throwing a dart in the dark. You think this is what's going on. A lot of times our conscious mind will either shift us away from really seeing the truth of it. As you said earlier, maybe we don't want to see it. So with this information, we really get to funnel our energy, our time, our money, all of our resources into really the cause of things, really the problem. And so as a result, you experience great transformation and healing in a much quicker amount of time.
And that's beautiful. And that's what everybody's looking for. We have a comment about, is this the Nest technology? Yes, it is. Yes, totally. And please drop your questions in the comments, and we'll either address those here now, or when we come back after the live as well. So let's show everybody what this looks like. I'm going to let Jenn share her screen so we can kind of see. I love to see the details of this and absorb where it can take us through this process.
All right, give me just 1 second.
Yeah,
all right, do you see the scan up there, Courtney?
Yes, here we go. Okay, just added it to it. Great.
Awesome. All right, so this is what a Nest scan result looks like. And you can see across the top, it has a lot of different tabs. It's a lot of information. I always point out to people on this last tab that's called recommendation, it gives us our priorities. So again, this is how we start to narrow down and focus our resources as to what's most negatively impacting us. On the first screen here, these are the energy sources that I had mentioned. So where we're getting our energy from, and if we're not getting enough of it. And, some of these might be as simple as, go outside and get more sunlight. It might be drinking more water. It might be eating in a more balanced way. And you can see that there's this priority color coding system that tells us purple means high priority. It's what we need to focus on. And then as you go through the tabs, you'll notice where it'll show us where there's specific blockages, right? So maybe there's not enough energy or enough power, to move the energy through the body.
Yeah.
And it gives you a whole lot of information, both on the physical components of what's going on, but also that deeper level. So if the lungs show up, we're potentially holding on to some grief that we haven't let go of.
Yeah. And I'll just say, everybody, this is mine. I'll claim me. Right, Jen? I think this is me, right?
It is, yeah.
Okay, cool. And with the lungs, and I just want to give my insights as again, COVID I'm still having a hard time breathing, but for the last couple of years, I've had a hard time breathing. I've realized how constricted I was and in my breath due to grief and trauma that were being held there. And I was like, and this is stuff I've never even told Jen about, we were like chatting about my backstory before this. And so that's what I thought was so interesting. And then I found, as a result, I was telling Jen gave me some strategies, and I did her strategy last night. I did that open lay thing and just had some really deep breath exercises. But I caught myself last night, constricted breathing, and I was like, wait, Jen told me to open up my breath and to feel, and to take deep breaths and have that power in my body. And I was like, I didn't realize how constricted I was because I was just trying to survive. Do you know?
Yeah. And that's a great example, Courtney, of the power of this information, because all of a sudden we're made aware of the fact that we're really living in a state of contraction. We might be living in the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight, flight, freeze, that we may not even have been consciously aware of. So all of a sudden now we have this new level of information, of awareness that we can bring to our life, and we start to change it.
Yes. Yeah. That was so cool.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah. And so it goes through different blockages. I'll point out here, it shows us the actual point of blockage in the body. If anybody's familiar with the chakras, you start to see connections to the chakras and what those different parts of our body mean. It'll also show us here the pathway of energy, right? Some people will call these meridians in traditional Chinese medicine. So while we have a blockage up here at the throat, right, it's also impacting other parts of our body. And this is where, when I do different energy medicine and Reiki and healing, we'll use this information. There's even different lifestyle things you can do, different healing things you can do yourself to help unblock these areas.
Well, and it was so interesting to me too, because the throat, was one of the areas that I needed to look at more, and I had some blocks, and we kind of discussed the traumas that were kind of sitting in there. But also in human design has 9 energy centers, kind of like chakras. And I have the throat center defined. And so I was like, you know what? I was thinking about this last night. I didn't even tell you. I was like, I have been having a harder time speaking. And that's a lot of because of different things going on and different illnesses, but it's stopping me from having my full potential, because when I can speak fluidly, I can share and I can magnetize, and my business grows stronger, and I feel more confident in my skills and in my value to the world, which is so important to me. So I was thinking about how all that interconnects and relates to that one point.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's really like the global thing with Nest. The global benefit is it interconnects so many different aspects of our being and allows us to understand how connected we really are and how one part of us affects our health, it affects our life, it affects our relationship to money, it affects so many different things. And we get this really kind of map, this roadmap as to what's going on.
Yeah, like that. And I love that concrete data to me because it also told my mind, hey, you need to like pay attention to this. Do you know? Like,
Yes.
like it's just brush it off again.
Yeah. And as I shared with you, and I often share, is that when we are ready, the teacher or the information appears. So I find that when people are ready and show up and we do a scan, it's because it's time for them to see that information, to sit with it, to recognize, its presence in their life, in their body, in their being.
Oh yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So then we get even to the deeper level, the more inner journey stuff, when we move to the mind body tab. And so this is showing us different traumas that are still resonating in our field, because it can, again, when we experience trauma, it imprints. If we can't process and release it, it'll stay within our field. And so you can see here, there's a variety of different traumas that will show up. And we'll be able to start to connect the dots. Sometimes it might be like, yes, oh my God, that is what happened. It might be like, I thought I had worked through that, but apparently it's still resonating there. Or, oh wow, yeah, that happened, and I actually do need to address that. It's really fascinating, the traumas that show up.
Yes, and really, what I have been learning about traumas is not only are they big things, but they can be small things too that seem like, oh, you know what, that didn't matter. Like I think there can be childhood, they can be last week. It's
Yeah.
There's no label to a trauma. It's just like an experience that kind of has holding on to us and not allowing us to move forward. And that can look like so many different various things. It doesn't have to be, oh, it was abuse, or, oh, it was whatever it is. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Someone said big T trauma and little T trauma. Exactly. You're right on.
Yeah, exactly. And, I love that as a society, we're becoming more trauma informed, because it's empowering people to say, hey, you know what? That was trauma. That thing that happened to me, that interaction, even energetically, we can experience trauma with people. It doesn't have to be through words or actions.
Yes, totally. And that's what I found as I'm coaching bosses throughout the world is like your energy greets other people first. Before anybody exchanges anything. There's this energy that is exchanged, and so yeah, that energy can create or can help or harm.
Yeah. And where it actually connects in the first is from the heart, right? And the Heart Math Institute has done years of research on the frequency of the heart rhythm, how it affects our internal operations, how it affects our environment. And the field of our heart goes out further than anywhere else. And so when we meet people, that's the first thing that we connect into.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And then next, it'll also show us emotions that are out of balance. And so whether it be that we have too much or too little of these, we can sit down and reflect with ourselves on this. And it helps us start to modulate and rebalance our emotional state as well.
Right. And I think my trust came up the highest on that, which is a battle that has been going on for the last couple of years. And again, you had no idea, but this did, and this saw my soul. And that's what I think is just so beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll just show one last tab because this is interesting. This is how it shows up, how, your life journey is affected, and what's showing up there. So how you understand your world, how you align to your purpose. We really get a lot of information about how we're showing up to life. How we may not be aware of how we're showing up to life. Be the change. Again, these are the things that we need to embrace within ourselves to evolve to the, as I call it, version 2.0 of ourselves, the next greater version of ourselves.
Yes, and that awareness is huge. That awareness, and then, you know, what do we do about it? And if we have not really been looking at it, we can't see where we're going to go. And that's what I felt like with me getting sick, is I've really like had a reset point. You know, I've had a time to like, you know, I was slowing down even more because I was living in my projector self, you know, and slowing down. But this has created that even more. And so the ability to see things that I've never quite seen, and to release things that I've never quite released. And through our chat too, that like, I like that you gave me such concrete things to do. You know, it was like, hey, it was just a overall encompassing experience to like, know, okay, I can get better. I can release this actually gave me hope that there is that 2.0, you know, and then there's going to be that 3.0 and 4.0, you know, type of thing. You're always progressing, but it gave me hope. Okay, here's a roadmap to progress. It is,
Yeah, absolutely. And just briefly, it shows us archetypes, so the different roles we play in life that might be out of balance, potentially some subconscious beliefs, transformation. So we'll be able to see what chakra, right, is really most negatively affected. And then we'll look at unconscious patterns, and in the creative cycle, whether that's the cycle of our life, creating a project, whatever it might be, right? We can see where we might have blockages.
That's awesome.
I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that.
Okay. Awesome. Jenn, this has been so helpful just to really, again, just kind of be soul guided in a new way that's not done typically at all, with the approaches of looking and being aware, and then what do we do? So if our community members are like, oh, okay, I want to get in with Jenn, you know, where do they find you? And then I know you have a special offer for our community.
Yes, absolutely. So my website is warriorheartwisdom.com. And I'll just say a note about that, right? When we do this healing and transformation work, we call upon our warrior spirit, and that's not in a battle with the world around us. It's the spirit and the strength to look within, so we can open our heart. So it's warriorheartwisdom.com. And I am offering a special. So normally it's $150 to do the scan and have a 60-minute reading with me. For those who are part of this group, I'm going to offer a $50 off special. So it would be $100 through the end of May.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Jenn. That is so great. Because again, this technology is very, very expensive, and not as, we can't find it, you know, accessible. So thank you for making it accessible, and thank you for making this journey accessible to others. And if you, Jenn, if you could come back and drop that link in the comments, so people can just click on that, that'd be awesome. So again, give your love to Jenn, everybody on, tell her thank you so much for coming on. And Jenn, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. I hope to hear from you. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out.
Okay. And you're here on Facebook and on Instagram, right?
I am on Instagram. I am Jenn Miller Warrior Heart. It's Jenn with 2 N's, Jenn Miller Warrior Heart. And then I'm on Facebook under Jenn Miller.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Great. All right. Thank you again, Jenn.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
I'm so grateful that in this community, we bring on strong, amazing women who are standing in their power and who are bringing great wisdom to the world. And that's what I want to highlight. And next week, we have a special guest coming on. We're going to do a live generator reading. So come on for that. Make sure you click RSVP in the event tab and come on to that. And I'm so excited to continue this conversation of where traumas really lie into. We'll be having a generator. She's a trauma coach, and helping women to, again, hit the next level in their lives and to work past those shadows. So thank you again. Let's rise to thrive.